Right, we've come out to Princetown now, and that's for a very good reason. I was talking about Millbay Prison in Plymouth during the War of Independence, the Napoleonic Wars, and the War of 1812. Now, the prisons, by the early 1800s, the prisons in Plymouth, which were mainly old prison ships, old warships that were full of prisoners, full of disease, a lot of people dying, a lot of burials. The numbers of prisoners coming in from these wars was getting too much. So they decided in 1806 to build a new prison out here at Dartmoor, Princetown. It was called Dartmoor Depot. It was started in 1806 and it was built to house French prisoners of war. The American War of Independence had been over, so the only prisoners we had now were French. With the Wellington in Spain winning victory after victory, more and more French prisoners were brought into Plymouth and marched over the moor and placed in this new prison. This new prison had 5 barrack blocks built to house 1,500 men each. So that would be 26, so over 7,000 prisoners held here at that time. In 1812, the Americans declared war on Britain. So the prison was also used to house American prisoners of war, captured mainly in the fighting around Canada, the border, Upper Canada, and captured at sea. In fact, the numbers of prisoners we captured compared to the ones the Americans captured were sometimes 4 to 5 to 1. So we tried to exchange prisoners, parole them or exchange them, prisoner exchanges. That didn't work. We had a glut of prisoners, American prisoners. So they were brought over to England, marched the 17 miles over the moor from Plymouth in treacherous conditions sometimes, and housed here with the French. Now this went on for 2 years until in 1814 the Treaty of Ghent was signed in December 1814. But it would take another 2 or 3 months to ratify that treaty. So the Americans, although they heard about this, the treaty, the war was over between America and England, the prisoners were still here. And they started to get emboldened and started to insult the guards. Now these guards were 500 soldiers. A lot of them were militiamen, not used to fighting in wars so much as police duties. And this intimidated the guards. So it created problems. The prison was run by the prisoners, really. They would hold their own court-martials in between them. If someone had done something wrong with the French prisoners or the American prisoners, they would summon a court-martial. Nothing to do with the guards or the British. The resulting punishment would be dealt with by the prisoners. It was their own community. The Americans had them, the French had them. They played games, they gambled. There was even duels. There was even a report of dueling in this time. So this went on. Like I said, with the ratification of the treaty in February 1815, the Americans were getting cheesed off. They were wanting to get back home. But the British, we didn't have a lot of ships on hand to take these prisoners. But this would happen sooner, especially after an incident that I'll talk about a little bit later.